It's happening. A portal few will even recognize has just activated, and almost no one is ready for what it demands. This portal does not care about popularity, it cares about precision. Today is the 6-6 portal, a rare, energetic checkpoint. And under its influence, something even rarer is happening. Mars, the cosmic warrior, is approaching collision with Ketu, the silent Severa. Officially, the alignment perfects tomorrow, but the disturbance has already begun, and sensitive souls like you are already feeling the tremors. The ones who've been walking through this life with heavy eyes and invisible bruises, the ones who know what it feels like to battle every single day, without any audience, without applause. This portal opens for the ones who kept going, even when nothing made sense. And as this portal activates, it stirs a very specific type of pain, the kind only chosen ones have ever carried. The kind of pain the average soul has never even tasted. And lately, if it feels like your biggest battles have become completely invisible to everyone around you, feel free to share it below. You're not the only one, and if it resonates, drop 191 in the comments along with your thoughts. That number holds a current. It's tied to quiet victories, private battles, and missions no one claps for. And if you've been waking up feeling more exhausted than when you went to bed, like you've been wrestling with something all night, but can't remember what, keep watching, because there's one specific reason that's happening to you right now. It's not random, and I'll explain exactly what that reason is soon. Because what this portal stirs isn't new. It's the same weight you've carried before, but heavier this time, and now it's returned to test how much you've really grown. It's the strangest thing. You know this feeling. You've always known it. But this time it's louder. It's not grief, not heartbreak, not anxiety. It's older than all of that. It's the pressure that comes when your soul gets called up again. You see, the chosen ones don't learn this pain, they carry it, lifetime after lifetime. And every time the soul is summoned to step forward again, it presses harder, like an ancient signal reactivating inside your nervous system. That ache in your chest, that surge of energy with no reason, that exhaustion you can't shake. You're not breaking down. You're being scanned, because this portal doesn't hand out rewards. It initiates, and before it gives you what's coming, it has to know. Can you hold the voltage? That's why you're feeling this now. Your system is being pushed to the edge, not to destroy you, but to upgrade your capacity. And here's the part almost nobody is ready for. This isn't just preparation, this is selection. Because after this stage, not everyone will be allowed to continue. The softness was never a flaw. It was the signal. You came in bare. No shields, no filters, no protection. And you've probably spent most of your life wondering why. Why the harshest people found you. Why the pain hit deeper for you than it seemed to for anyone else. Why you always felt a little too open, a little too raw. Like life hit you louder than it hit others. Together, these two portals reveal a rare kind of soul. The kind that came here not to defend, but to transmute. You weren't built to block pain. You were designed to absorb it and rewrite it. Because the universe knew something most people forget. Real alchemy doesn't happen inside thick walls. It happens when you let the storm hit your skin, and you survive it without becoming it. You weren't supposed to deflect the darkness. You were meant to walk straight into it, let it see itself in your eyes, and collapse under the weight of its own reflection. Every betrayal you didn't deserve. Every sorrow you couldn't explain. That was the work. You've been doing the sacred job all along. So no, your softness was never a liability. It was a cosmic mechanism, a spiritual bait. Because only those who've shattered without hardening can carry this next wave of light. You're not pulling away, you're being pulled inward. Lately, you might feel the sudden urge to disconnect, not just from people, but from patterns, from routines that once felt grounding, from conversations that now feel hollow, from relationships, jobs, hobbies, even dreams that used to feel aligned, but now feel like costumes from a role you've already outgrown. And here's the strange part, it's not because you're broken, it's not because you're spiraling, and it's definitely not because you're giving up. You're being extracted, quietly, precisely, intentionally. When the soul upgrades faster than the body can follow, isolation becomes a sanctuary, not a symptom. This isn't retreat, it's refinement. Mars, the force of forward motion, and the silent cutter of karmic ties are working together right now in a way that's disrupting every false mirror you've ever performed in front of. They're severing the applause you never needed. They're dissolving the feedback loop that was shaping you into someone you were never meant to be. And so, for many of the chosen, what's happening isn't a social withdrawal. It's spiritual cloaking. Your frequency is being covered, masked from distractions, shielded from energies that would distort what's being rewired in you. This period of low visibility, it's not failure, it's sacred. You're not being hidden from the world. You're being hidden from the old version of the world that no longer knows what to do with you. And if you've been judging yourself for not showing up the way you used to, stop. You're not disappearing. You're shifting dimensions. This isn't about being antisocial. This is about becoming unavailable to energies that no longer match your coding. You're pulling away because your soul is in surgery and no one gets to watch this part. So if you've been craving solitude like oxygen, if the noise of normal life feels unbearable, if you've lost the appetite to be seen, know this. You are not vanishing. You are just no longer visible to what was never meant to hold you. You are in transit. And soon, when the shift is complete, you will emerge. But not as a version edited for their comfort. You'll return as the signal they won't be able to unsee. Something inside you is done obeying rules you never agreed to. Have you felt it? That quiet, unexplainable defiance rising up from your chest like a second heartbeat. Not loud, not angry, but steady, irrational, undeniable. This isn't about rebellion for the sake of drama. This isn't about slamming doors or proving points. This is something deeper, something older, a revolt in your nervous system that starts whispering no, even before your mind knows why. It's not rage, it's refusal, and it's sacred. Mars governs action. The force that severs illusions moves with it. And together, they're activating the part of you that no longer wants to perform. The part that's allergic to pretending. The part that refuses to make itself smaller to keep others comfortable. You're starting to notice how often you've been compromising your energy just to avoid disruption. You've said yes when you meant maybe. You've smiled when you were cracking. You've stayed where you were already finished, out of loyalty to a version of you that no longer exists. But now, the fire inside is outgrowing the masks outside. And that mismatch? It creates pressure, not to lash out, but to step out. You might find yourself breaking patterns that once felt safe, skipping events, deleting numbers, walking away mid-sentence, not because you're rude, but because you're done pretending you don't feel the shift. This isn't recklessness, it's realignment. Some will call it cold. Some will say you've changed. And they're right. You've changed frequency. And your new one doesn't apologize for honoring its own boundaries. Because sacred defiance doesn't scream, it chooses. It doesn't need witnesses, it needs clarity. This is the era where the chosen ones begin saying no without guilt, walking away without a final explanation, and drawing lines in the sand with nothing but eye contact. You're not abandoning kindness, you're just no longer confusing it with self-betrayal. This isn't about becoming harsh. It's about remembering that softness, when misused, becomes erosion. And you've been eroding for long enough. Now is the time to reclaim your no as a sacred act. Peace isn't passive, it's enforced. Some battles leave no scars, just silence. There's a very specific kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from work. It doesn't come from stress. It doesn't even come from trauma. It comes from carrying assignments no one else can see, spiritual tasks written in invisible ink, felt only in the heaviness behind your eyes and the pressure in your chest when you're around people who assume you're fine. This isn't trauma. This is responsibility you didn't choose, but still showed up for. Mars is the planet of war. The force of detachment moves with it. Together, they're activating something eerie, something sacred, missions that can't be spoken out loud, instructions whispered into your frequency without words, commands that bypass language and land directly in your nervous system. And the strangest part? No one else around you seems to notice. You could be in a room full of people, laughing, engaging, doing normal things, and still feel like you're on another battlefield entirely. Like something is moving through you, asking you to endure, to hold, to process, to anchor, but never explain. This is what happens when a soul is chosen to transmute timelines. You won't get applause for it. You might not even get relief. But there's a reason it's falling on your shoulders and not theirs. Because you know how to hold spiritual weight without dropping it. You know how to walk through fire without looking consumed. You've done it before. That's why it chose you again. Spiritual warfare doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks like smiling through a storm no one else can hear. So if you felt strangely isolated lately, like your pain doesn't have a name, your growth doesn't have a witness, and your struggle doesn't have a story, this is why. You're not crazy, you're not making it up, and you're not alone. But you are being tasked. This isn't punishment. This is trust. And while others sleep soundly through the storm, you're being asked to stand in it, to ground it, to transmute it. Because even if no one else knows the battle you're in, the energy does, the universe does, and it's watching what you do with it. Just because they don't see the war doesn't mean you're not winning it. Your body is sleeping. Your soul is not. There's a fatigue that doesn't come from a lack of sleep. It lingers even after 10 hours of rest. It follows you through your days like fog in your lungs, like static in your bones. And no supplement, no morning routine, no motivational quote seems to shake it. If you've been waking up feeling more exhausted than when you went to bed, like your soul has been somewhere, doing something you can't quite name, you're not imagining it. You're working while you sleep. When the world rests, some are still being summoned. This force is drifting. It doesn't anchor to time. It slides between realms, pulling Mars, the force of action, into invisible battlegrounds that don't follow the clock. And the chosen ones, they're the ones getting drafted into these missions every night. This isn't some dreamy metaphor. This is real energy. You're being called into subconscious operations, soul-level interventions, grid stabilizations, ancestral reconciliations, even collective energy work. You won't remember the details because you're not supposed to. Not because you're forgetful, but because you're protected. Have you been dreaming things you can't describe? That's not forgetfulness, that's protection. You wake up feeling like something happened, but you can't explain what. Your body aches in places you didn't use. Your heart feels heavy for no reason. You're not emotionally overwhelmed, just worn. Like something passed through you. Like something used your vessel as a portal, and now you're left with the echo of it. That's because your nights aren't restful. They're active. Not in your mind, but in your field. And that's what people don't get. You're not tired because you're lazy. You're carrying out soul work in realms most people don't even believe exist, but you know they do, because you feel them, even when you can't explain them. So if you've been waking up with a heaviness in your chest, buzzing in your limbs, or that unshakable sense that something happened in your sleep, you're right. It did. You're not just sleeping through the night, you're working through the dark. And the fatigue you feel, it's proof. The chosen don't rest like others. Even in dreams, they're on duty. If it vanished, it was never meant to hold you. Lately, there's been this strange interference pattern in the lives of the chosen. Plans that once felt stable are falling apart without warning. Connections that seemed promising are suddenly ghosting. Doors that were halfway open are slamming shut, not slowly, but violently. And at first, it feels like failure. It feels like rejection. It feels like life is yanking the rug out from under you just for the hell of it. But it's not sabotage. It's redirection at the speed of spirit. The universe doesn't always guide you with signs. Sometimes it guides you by removing everything that isn't real. There's a reason why your usual fallback plans are no longer working. Why your safe choices are now full of friction. It's because your soul has already upgraded its coordinates, and anything out of alignment with that new trajectory is being forcibly collapsed. This energy does not negotiate. It doesn't wait for you to catch up. It doesn't ask for your approval. It just clears, cuts, collapses. Because it knows that if even one strand of your old story survives this, you'll be tempted to reach for it the next time you feel fear. Right now, you're being protected from your own survival instincts. You're being prevented from going backwards, disguised as progress. From repeating relationships that weren't that bad. From accepting opportunities that kinda make sense. From compromising in the name of stability when your soul is screaming for truth. This isn't a test of faith. This is a rescue mission from everything that would have cost you your light. So if you've found yourself grieving things that fell apart before they even had a chance to bloom, if you're confused why everything suddenly feels like quicksand, it's because the wrong path isn't just being blocked. It's being erased. You're not being punished, you're being spared. And the discomfort you feel, that's not failure, that's traction. You're not supposed to go back, you're not supposed to stay still. You're being rerouted toward the timeline that won't demand your self-abandonment as a price of entry. This isn't the universe saying no to you, it's saying no for you. When your frequency rises, your visibility drops. There's a strange loneliness unfolding this week. Messages are going unanswered. People you once synced with are now avoiding eye contact, not physically, but energetically. And the worst part? You can't even be mad about it. Because something in you knows it's not personal. It's spiritual static, a signal mismatch, a necessary unpairing. You're not being ghosted, you're being preserved. When your energy shifts, and right now, it's shifting violently, not everyone can stay tuned to your channel, and they're not meant to. Because if they could still reach you, they'd still try to shape you. They'd still project the old version of you back onto you. So the people who only knew how to meet you in your camouflage won't know how to handle your raw form. That's okay. That's the point. You were never meant to be universally digestible, especially not now. Mars is activating the rawest parts of your truth, the ones that don't soften themselves to be palatable, the ones that refuse to shrink in order to fit old dynamics, the ones that no longer apologize for their boundaries or their volume. And the other energy at play, it's not just cutting off dead weight, it's making sure your new frequency stays unbothered by opinions that don't matter anymore. You're being cloaked, not to isolate you, but to protect your revelation. You're not supposed to be understood. You're supposed to be revealed. So don't panic if the crowd thins. Don't shrink if the room goes silent. This isn't rejection. This is removal of noise. The ones who ghost you this week aren't betraying you. They're simply being pulled out of resonance. The ones who misunderstand you aren't wrong. They're just still watching the previous episode of your evolution while you've already moved on. Chosen ones don't get approval this week, they get clarity. Clarity about who doesn't deserve a front row seat to their becoming. And yes, it's lonely, but it's the right kind of lonely. The kind that clears the air for what's real to finally find you. This isn't about being liked. This is about being untouchable by the wrong ones. There's a difference between being quiet and being commanded to hold something too big for words. There are certain people walking through this world with oceans in their chest. They know too much, feel too deeply, see what others can't or won't. And yet, they say so little. Not because they're unsure, not because they're disconnected, but because they've been spiritually instructed to speak less than they know. And that's not silence. That's containment. That's mastery. Some are loud to be heard, others are silent because they already know. The chosen ones carry this weight more than anyone else. Lately, it's been intensifying, the tension between what you want to scream and what you're silently holding in. You feel the urge to speak truth like a fire rising in your throat, but something stops you. Not fear, not doubt, something higher, something ancient, a directive that comes from a place deeper than logic. Because some truths aren't meant to be said, they're meant to be survived. And you know this. You've known it your whole life. This is the strange path of the spiritual communicator, having to watch the world ask questions you've already answered within, but knowing that to speak it out loud, before they're ready to hear it, would not enlighten them. It would break them. Wisdom isn't knowing what to say. It's knowing when silence is more merciful. But let's be honest, that doesn't make it easier. It's one thing to feel unseen. It's another to feel like a vault. You carry timelines you can't name, information that doesn't fit in words, revelations that hit you in flashes when no one's around to witness it. And instead of praise, you get pressure. Instead of relief, you get restraint. You walk around with spiritual tectonics shifting inside you while being expected to smile, nod, and play small talk. You're not crazy. You're encoded. And the worst part? You can't even explain the toll of that silence. How heavy it gets. How sometimes your chest feels like it's splitting from holding all the things you're not allowed to voice. This isn't repression. This is responsibility. Mars stirs the roar in you, the drive to be seen, to declare, to fight for what you know. But that other force, it strips the stage. It says, not yet. It's not punishing you. It's refining you. So that when the moment comes to finally speak, it won't be noise. It'll be a spiritual rupture. The loudest things are not always said, some are simply lived, until the world catches up. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.